Welcome back to episode 50 of Taking Charge of My Cancer podcast. I have a very special guest with me today, Catherine Martin. So Catherine, she was born in Graz, Austria. She is a piano teacher, went to school in Graz and received her piano teaching degree, master's in music education at the University of Music and Performance Arts in Graz. That's her hometown. She moved to the States back in 1999. Is married and have two children, Monona, 24, and Cillian, 22. She's a two-time breast cancer survivor, 2012 and 2015. She's a passionate runner, running a streak over 10 years. And not only that, she's been, I don't even know how many marathons she's been doing already. And I have actually the pleasure to meet her before she was my patient here. But I am so excited to have this conversation because I always talk about her with every of my patients because she's just an amazing cancer survivor and she's just full of passion and is such an inspiration for so many people out there. So Catherine, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So Catherine, it's funny, we met, but we didn't. So we came across paths with our kids, right? So that was
Yes.
back when Danny was at GHS, right?
Yes, and Monona was too. Mm-hmm.
And Monona was, so they both were in the swim team. And
Yes.
then that's the first time that I think we crossed paths. And then we kind of talk a little bit here and there through the, because the swimming. And then boom, you came to the clinic.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait a minute, I know you. What happened here? So
I was happy, very happy that you turned out to be my physical therapist. It was like it was meant to be.
Exactly. So you want to tell us about your diagnosis and how did you find about your breast cancer?
Well, I had, like you said earlier, breast cancer twice. The first time was in 2012 when I was first diagnosed, and I just happened to find a little lump. I don't even remember exactly the details, but I noticed there was a tiny little lump. And I was already, how old was I in 2012? I was, I believe, 46 back then. Had never had a mammogram until then, I have to admit. And that was kind of a scare. And so I went in to have a mammogram. And I remember exactly the day. It was June 6, 2012. And had my mammogram, and the right away said something looks very suspicious and ordered a biopsy, which I didn't have until a month later. Because of scheduling, it always takes a little longer. And also there was a local run here in town. And I'm obsessed with running. I wanted to get that run done before I had the biopsy. It was the Melon Run. And I ran that on July 4th and had the biopsy on July 6th. And then I got the result. And shortly after, in August, I had my first surgery, which was a mastectomy.
Okay.
And then the second time, not long after, sadly, it was just 2.5 years later, in February of 2015, actually it was in January, I did go in for my annual mammogram and they found something again and ordered another biopsy. Again, a race was in the way, but it was only a few weeks out. I did the Donna Marathon. That was the first time I did that marathon, which I am very, very passionate about. I've been doing it ever since, every year. It was in February, and then we scheduled the biopsy for 2 days later. That biopsy result, sadly, there was, bad result. Again, had to have another surgery. And it was in March. And that time it was quite more serious than the first time. The first time I was only stage 1A. This time, second time, stage 3A with lymph node involvement.
Oh, wow.
And I had and had the second mastectomy in March of 2020.
Catherine, did you receive radiation or chemo after the first?
Yes, I did. No, not after the first one. No, I just did the surgery.
Okay. I got you. Did they offer options for radiation after?
No, it was not indicated back then. It was, seemed to be okay. But
okay. Got you. Wow. And then what type of resources did you use that help you to make decisions about your treatments?
I had a friend back then who was a breast cancer survivor many, many years back. She had gone through it like 20 years prior to when I had it. And she recommended a book which I liked. It was called The Breast Book by Dr. Susan Love. And it was written in a way that, like a not medically educated person could understand. And I liked that book. That helped me quite a bit. But what really, really helped me a lot was a dear friend of mine who is now retired. She was a professor at UF for physiology, and she is a sweetheart. She's, of course, very, very knowledgeable, knows how to use resources and really get some information. And she went to quite a few of my doctor's appointments with me and helped me translate the language that I didn't always understand, so, and really explain everything really well to me and helped me make some very informed decisions. And really the other thing was that I had an amazing team here at UF. I mean, you being one of them, then all my doctors, Dr. Singal, I remember, he was amazing. I remember it was the evening before my second surgery, before my second mastectomy. I remember that as if it happened like just yesterday. I was out in Keystone Heights where I was teaching piano at the time. It's maybe like a 45 to 50-minute drive home, and I was working till late in the evening. It was maybe 8 o'clock, and I was supposed to be in the hospital for surgery the following morning at 6 o'clock, first thing. And he called me. I was on the way home, driving home from Keystone, and he called me, and he was on the phone with me for close to an hour. And he explained everything in detail to me, and he was so kind and so compassionate. It just made me feel so confident and felt so it was just really, really helpful to me. And as I recall, I think I was the guinea pig. I think I was the first case that he did at UF to do a lymph node bypass.
Exactly.
And he was, of course, passionate about it and explained everything to me. And I just felt really good about that. And then, of course, my Dr. Spiegel, she was amazing. Dr. Dale, my oncologist, they'll just all really take their time and explain everything and are very, very compassionate. So I was in very good hands here at Chance.
Okay, very good. That's really good to hear. So if we're going back, you're right. So Dr. Singhol, which I miss every day, and we still having, keeping in touch. And actually we went with Dr. Spiegel and visited him last year and spent some time checking out what he was doing in Boston. And he's doing amazing with his lymphedema program. And then, yes, he remember like every one of his patients and how he started his program here at UF. So he always, so great to see him always comparing like, his two families, he called it, my UF family and now Beth Israel family. But so yes, so he was, so for the audience, what Catherine was talking about is a lymphovenous bypass. And what that is usually is a way, or is a lympha procedure, and it's a way to, I don't want to say prevent, but maybe definitely decrease the possibility to develop lymphedema when you have an axillary lymph node dissection. So what the surgeons do is at the time of the mastectomy and at the time of the removal of those lymph nodes, they connect some of those lymph nodes some of the veins to the other lymph nodes that were left behind, and that just really opened that new path to try to really help for the development of lymphedema. So we have been doing a couple of papers. So Dr. Singhol, and we've been doing it with Dr. Spiegel here. And if you have a lymph node bypass dissection, the risk to develop lymphedema is about 38 to 40%, meaning 6 lymph nodes or more. But with the LV bypass, we're able to drop that rate to a 12%. So that's really a good amount. So we have seen, and we've been doing it since then. So Dr. Singhol started here, and then when he left, we couldn't really we still not be able to replace him. He's irreplaceable, but we still not be able to replace him. But Dr. Spiegel started doing the surgery, and that's what she does here at UF. So we, is our start of care. So she, even if another surgeon does the mastectomy, she will do an LV bypass if an axillary dissection will be happening. So it's really,
really?
Yes. So that's what
interesting.
Yeah, this is a standard of care now.
So, see, and I was the first one back then, 8 years ago.
Exactly. I need to get you to meet Dr. Spiegel. She'll be excited to meet you. Yes. So that's exciting. And you have no have, so this is 2015 and there's no lymphedema, right?
No,
Yep.
no.
Yep. And then we did, yeah. And so we do here you have a surveillance where we kind of really do a close surveillance. So our patients with an LV bypasses because they're high risk because the axillary dissection. And then so we see you guys for like, every 3 months for the first 2 years and then once a year for 3 years.
Right.
So I think we graduate already, right? You graduate your
Yes.
5 already.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and so she has been doing amazing in regarding, no signs of lymphedema, but not only that, I always tell your story because we start doing a program here as well where we do like to see our patients right before chemotherapy infusions to really work on a high intensity exercise program. So we can really help to enhance that chemotherapy or radiation therapy treatment. But what we're finding is a lot of really the chemotherapy secondary effects diminish as well. So you actually, I believe, were one of our first guinea pigs as well doing that. And again, here, you did amazingly. Like I work you out. Like you came at 7 o'clock in the morning and we work out for an hour before you walk upstairs to do your infusion. And then I always tell your story because I remember when you start your first chemo cycle, you have your first cycle. And then,
Yes.
I saw you and it's like, well, I have the Donna Marathon coming up right after the cycle. And I'm like, Catherine, just walk it. Okay. Just promise you're just gonna walk it. And the next thing I know, she comes back to me the next week. Actually, I run it and I won it.
Shirley, you're giving me a little bit too much credit. I need to correct here. It was only a 5K. It was not a marathon. But
Okay.
it was my biggest accomplishment, really, because it was the day after my first chemo. And I was wretchedly sick the whole night. It was awful. And I was supposed to go there, actually. There was the Donna event to get my trophy presented by Donna Deegan herself, being a multiple time, I think 3-time breast cancer survivor, the trophy from the marathon that I had won just 3 months before. And I was also going to run the race. And then I felt so horrible. And I almost wrote an email to them. I was sitting up at night and wrote out the email and was about to send it. I'm so sorry, I can't come. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to go there. And my husband, Steve, he's the best. I mean, he supported me through all of this. He literally carried me out to the car that following morning. And we said, we'll just go there and just be there and get the trophy. And then when we got there, I thought, maybe I can just walk it. Like you had given me that advice, just walk it. And then it was the most amazing thing. Donna and kind of introduced me to the crowd. There were like over 1,000 people running. And she said, this is our Donna marathon champion. She just had her first chemo yesterday. She's here to run. And the people went just crazy. They were cheering and applauding. And it was the most amazing thing. Gun went off and I ran all the way and I won that race too. Yeah. So it's all mind over matter. It's just what, your mind is a powerful thing.
Yeah, it is, but it is amazing. So I always tell that to my patients. So you're inspiration to many of them, actually.
Oh, thank you, Shirley. Thank you.
So would you give us 3 valuable tips that you learned about your journey with your diagnosis?
Well, the first one that I found out is do what is good for you and don't worry too much about other people as long as you don't do anything that might hurt or offend anybody. Remember when I lost my hair, for instance, I had very long hair, and then to make it not so dramatic, losing my hair, I went through stages, had it a little shorter, and then a little shorter, and then right after my first chemo, hair started coming out in big chunks, and it was horrible. And both my kids, Monona and Cillian, and my husband Steve, took the buzzer and took turns shaving off my hair. And by then it was like May, June, getting really hot here, and I was running every day, and I used to wear a bandana or a hat. And I got so sick of it. I hated it. It was hot and I had no hair and I had that hat on. And Cillian, my son, he was so sweet. He was 14 years old then. And he looked at me one day and said, you know what, Mama? Long hair, short hair, no hair. It's all the same. You're always beautiful. And I took off that hat and I went uncovered from then on, and I felt so liberated. And some people gave me weird looks. Maybe some people thought it was a fashion statement. One friend of mine said, "Wow, you look great." And it was just a good thing to think, don't do what might maybe make other people feel better, because they might maybe be a little bit embarrassed not to know how to react when they see a bald lady there. Do what's good for you, as long as it's, doesn't hurt anybody. And that was very helpful. Another tip that I would give you is take it step by step. When you have a challenge facing something like this, where it really seems like there's no end in sight, and am I ever gonna make it? Just take it little by little. Like, for instance, I had 16 rounds of chemo, and I didn't allow myself to think that far. I just thought, okay, tomorrow's my first chemo. Let's do this. And then I tried to always put it like, great, one down, only 15 to go. Always try to make it positive. And just step by step, just take one day at a time and do whatever you can do. And that was helpful too for me. And finally, really great thing, what I found out is the power of acupuncture. I had never really had any experience with it, but I remember after my first mastectomy, I came home, you come home right the day after, didn't spend much time in hospital, and I had a lot of pain. It was, really, really painful. They, of course, had given me some pain medication. I hate taking pain medication. I never take anything. I just don't like that stuff. But I was in such a bad way that I actually took one of those pills and got extremely nauseated and started throwing up, and didn't take any more, of course. But of course, the pain was still there. And so Steve called a friend of ours, JJ, who was an acupuncture therapist out in Melrose, where we used to live. And he came to Gainesville and gave me a treatment. And it was like a miracle. It was like night and day. I had hardly any pain. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was maybe a 2 or 3 after the treatment. It was amazing.
Yeah. And not only that, I think that, again, I used to not believe so much in acupuncture either, or not believe it. I just never was exposed too much to it. We have a situation as well with Danny, my oldest son, having some issues with his GI system, and that really helped a lot, and a little bit to my husband. So, but I have heard really good things about it, so I'm always kind of recommending that to my patients, and not just for pain, but just mental health, energy, related fatigue, just balance your body and your mind, I think is important.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, very good. How about the most painful lesson that you learned in this journey?
I didn't really have a painful lesson, but certainly painful moments. And one that really is very vivid in my mind is the first day when I didn't get my final, not the diagnosis, not the result of the biopsy, but the first mammogram diagnosis, so to speak, where it was pretty clear something was wrong. It was the last day of school for both my children. Cillian was in 5th grade, Monona was in 7th grade. June 6th it was, and I remember picking them up from school, and I had a total meltdown, and I just had all these thoughts. There are those 2 little children. Am I gonna see them graduate? Am I gonna see them grow up? Am I gonna see them get married, if they ever get married? All these thoughts, and that was really, really painful. And really thinking about it back in hindsight, having children makes it both easier but also harder. Somehow going through something like this. What I mean is, like, it makes it easier because they gave me both Monona and Cillian, and my husband, of course, too, but he's an adult, I mean, I've always felt like he can, if something happens to me, he's going to be able to better deal with it than those 2 little children who were still little. But they gave me so much strength and so much motivation to just keep going, keep fighting every day, and do whatever I had to do to get through this. So that made it easier. Harder on the other side, because like I said, you have all these thoughts, and it was so sad to think, am I ever going to see this and this and this happen? And also because I felt guilty somehow in a weird way, which I really shouldn't have. But I felt like, why can't they have a normal life? Why can't they have a normal mom and don't have to worry about this? Even though they never conveyed that to me. They were amazing how they dealt with it, really. But those were some painful moments. Yeah.
I can totally feel you. Sometimes when something just like a cancer happened to us, as meaning as moms, And that's the first thought comes in the mind is like, man, who is going to be taking care of the kids? Even
Yes.
now that they're adults, still, they're going to be
Yes.
our babies no matter
It
what,
always, it never changes. No.
no matter what they are. Okay. Is anything that you have that will you be of a value to our audience, and will you share it with us?
Yes, and you already touched on that. It's my running journey. Running, if I were to ever write a book, I would write a book that's titled Running, How Running Saved My Life.
Okay.
It sounds a little bit melodramatic, but I truly believe
No.
without my running, I wouldn't have made it through this, at least not the way I was able to manage it. Because I started between my two diagnoses, I started a running streak. It was in 2013. I was at the swim meet, actually, GHS against EHS. And one of the other moms told me about this lady she had read about in the Runner's World magazine who had been on a running streak for 33 years. And I thought, wow, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start a streak. And first I was...
So you never run?
I'm sorry?
So you never run before that?
Well, I had run, but not like on a regular basis. I'd been running on and off, but not like it. I've been running for over 10 years now every day. And even like through all of this, like my second encounter with cancer happened after I started my streak. And I ran through 10 surgeries, 16 rounds of chemo. I think it was 33 days of radiation. Of course, my doctors said, don't run for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it was, after my surgeries. I, of course, did not tell them that I did not listen to them because I had to keep running.
So you didn't listen to me either?
No. Some of those runs where it was just, the minimum requirement is I need to do just 1 mile a day. And some of those were very, very slow miles, just shuffling along, but I did it. And that gave me so much power. It was a mental game for me. When I felt down, when I was sick or just devastated and mentally down, I said, I'm going to go for my run. I will do my mile. And I felt so much better because there was the one thing in all that craziness that I still was in charge of. And really without that, I don't know how I would have gone through it. And I also think that's why I never got so really, really sick after chemo. I mean, I didn't feel great, but never like what you hear that sometimes people throwing up for days on end, can't do anything. My chemo day was always Friday. And I ran with the running group back then. And on Saturday was a long run. We ran in San Francisco. Patrick Gallagher, one of my dear friends, one of my first coaches, he did the long run in San Francisco. The day after chemo, we went out and ran through the woods. And I really think because of that physical activity, the day after, I felt much better. It sweated out all the poison they had pumped in me. And of course, it didn't feel great, but I felt it was tolerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I don't know if you know that, but more and more research is coming out about, we call it a tumor environment, when we know exercise increase oxygenation in the cancer cells. So, decrease hypoxia, which is going to be really important tool to really destroy the cancer. So it's an enhancement for chemo and radiation. So that's a part of it. So I'm like, it's been a few studies doing in humans now, but hopefully it's going to continue more research coming out into, I just hear about the study in Australia that they were looking into, can we just bring some, like the little bikes that you sit on it, and you just put your feet or your hands while you guys are in infusion, actually.
Oh, wow.
So we can really start to see, and they did a study, and they look in mice, so it hasn't been on humans yet, but they did a study with that and how that really, again, improved that hypoxia for the tumor on the mice. That is like, why not, right? You sit in there on a chair for hours during so why not just really moving, and that really make all that element to improve. And so it's exciting what maybe things are coming out now.
That's great. That is very fascinating. Yes. Wow.
So tell me about, how did you end up in the craziness that you're doing now with, you did like an Ironman or something similar to?
No, just a half Ironman. Okay. I'm not that crazy yet. I'm still toying with the idea of doing a full, but not quite sure. I did 3 half Ironman.
Yeah. So
running is really my passion. I'm a very weak swimmer and only a mediocre biker. But running, I'm a strong runner, so I love running.
yes. So how many marathons have you done so far?
I think 14 or 15. I'm not quite sure. I did 4 times the Boston Marathon, 5 or 6 donuts. I think 15.
You just recently did the Boston Marathon, right? That was the last one that you did?
I was Chicago. It was
Chicago.
I did Chicago. Boston. Last time I did Boston was 2019. I did Chicago this year in October. That was actually part of the World Championship. There's this thing for age group people like me, where you can qualify for the World Championship if you rank high in the world. And I was invited to the World Championship race and ran that in October. And that was fun. It was a fun race.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome. I'm telling you, it's like I keep following you. So it's like it's every story that you post in there. How did you get involved with this half Ironman? Did you want to just try to tell people a little bit about the Ironman?
Well, a lot. Here in Gainesville, there's a huge triathlon community. There's some amazing people of mine who do Ironman like once, many of them. Like a friend of mine just did her, I think, 14th. She qualified for the World Championship in Kona, and so I know those people, and I hear about their training. Sometimes I do part of it with them. I'm nowhere near as fast as they are on the bike, but I know them, and they're very, very inspiring people. And so I just thought I'd try it. Also, I like the diversity. It's good for my body, the swimming, to get in the water. It's very relaxing for me. But it's very time consuming. So I'm not quite sure if I can really commit to a full. I'd love to. If I do one, I would do it in my home country, Austria, which would be great.
Okay.
Too. But yeah.
So talking about Austria, why did you move to the States from Austria?
When?
Why?
Why? Because of my husband. He's from America, and we were debating where should we live, here or in Austria, and might have been a better choice to live in Austria. Life is very good there with, health insurance, and a lot of things are much, much better there. But we are happy here, so it was the right choice to live here.
Okay.
And I moved here when I was pregnant with Monona, actually, just before she was born.
Yeah.
In 99.
And look at this small world, right? Because now Monona is in Austria.
Yes, and she lives there, and that gives me more reason again to go back there, which is great.
That's awesome. Yes. That's awesome. Yes. Since you're a piano teacher, what is your opinion with music as a therapy?
Very important. It's very important too for me. Again, it helped me tremendously to get through chemo, for instance. There's this aria by Turandot, by Puccini, rather, from Puccini's Turandot, Nessun Dorma. There's some car noise now. It's a very powerful, beautiful aria. Luciano Pavarotti sings it beautifully. It's my favorite rendition. And the music is beautiful, and the words are very powerful too. Like at the very end, it says, Vincerò, vincerò, I will win, I will win. And every chemo, I got my phone, I put on my headphones, and I went to that Nessun Dorma aria. And while I was sitting there for chemo, I listened to that aria over and over again. And it was just gave me so much strength. The music was beautiful, the words were powerful and inspiring, and it was very helpful. And then, of course, being active, playing piano was very relaxing. When you just sit down in the evenings and play. And I love teaching. I mean, I was teaching through all of this, and I just love being with my kids, and teaching makes me so happy. And if you're happy, you're doing well. So that's also very helpful to get through all of this.
Okay, that's awesome. Is any 3 books that you would recommend to the audience, and why?
The first one I would recommend, I just read it recently, is Let Your Mind Run by Dina Castor, who is one of the big American long distance runners. And I actually read that just before the Chicago Marathon. It's a lot about how your mind can help you achieve certain goals, and how positive thinking can change your whole outlook. And the cool thing is you can apply it to daily life, not only to running. When it gets tough in a run, change your attitude, find something something positive, and it will get easier. But also in daily life. And it was just a very stupid, simple little example, but I think it's funny. It was the day of my marathon, and I have this morning ritual. When I run, I need to have my oatmeal, I need to have sliced bananas in it. It has to be just so. And of course, you're nervous before a big race. And we were staying in this, what's it called? Extended stay. I thought extended stay would be great. There's a kitchen, right? There was a kitchen, but there were no utensils, nothing, no bowls. So I went out to the lobby and tried to find some plastic spoons and forks and knives. And all they had was a spoon. And I went into my room and made that oatmeal just in a microwave because there was nothing else. And wanted to cut my banana, and I didn't have a knife. So my first thought was, that really sucks. Now I can't even cut my banana. And I thought, you need to rephrase that now. You're not doing yourself any favor if you have this negative attitude. So I thought, how nice is it that I can cut that banana so nicely with a spoon? And you know what? It changed my whole day. It was just, okay, it's all going to be fine. Okay. So that's a really great book because it's all so much is mental. If you have a good positive attitude, you can make things work, even if it seems hard. Another book I just recently read, it's a beautiful book. It's called The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. It's a story about a family in southern India, telling the story spanning over 3 generations. And you learn so much about the culture and you get so immersed into it. You almost feel like you're living the story. And it's about hardship and tragic loss and faith and love and beautiful language. It's just beautifully written. It's one of those books that you just can't put down. I was up, it's like a 700 or 800 page book, and I was up a couple nights up till 3 o'clock in the morning, even though I knew I have to get up at 5 in the morning, and I just couldn't put the book down. Another one that I just recently reread is Were There Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I like that a lot too. It's about a girl that was abandoned and grows up all by herself in North Carolina, in the marshland of North Carolina. It's a story of survival and independence and lots of nations. So I like that a lot too.
Great. Awesome. How about any podcast?
I am the nerd that doesn't listen to any podcasts, except I listen to yours.
Yay!
Yes, which I like a lot.
Okay, great. I'm glad of that. See, I'm going to convert you into a podcast listener.
Yes.
So what is one question you wish I would have asked you, and what would you have answered?
Where are my happy places?
Okay.
And the answer to that is in the mountains of Austria. Oh. That's where I'm happy.
Okay. Yes. That's
not awesome. That I'm not happy here, but that's my really, really happy place.
Yes.
There. Yes.
And it is a beautiful place based on the pictures that you have been posted. So
yes, I have not had gorgeous.
I have not had the opportunity to go, but love to. But it looks like it's beautiful.
It is. Yes.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, Catherine, really, you've always been an inspiration to me. You've been amazing. Not just for what we kind of, we became closer as a patient therapist, but we share a lot of stuff that we were going on with our kids because our kids have similar ages. So always being like, beyond just being my patient. And I'm so excited to see all your happiness and all your overcoming all the stuff that has been going on with you and your husband and your family. And it's so great to just know here you are, with the same energy that I met years ago.
Yes.
And just getting ready to see what's next, right? What's next excitement on my life. And then just kind of always looking into that new chapter where this challenge you. So this is amazing.
Yes. Thank you, Darlis. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. It was fun.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for doing this with me, and have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.